The saga of the summer continues, and that's Alexander Isak. Here on Arsenal Report, we know for sure that Liverpool have said they're exiting the race for Isak, but we've seen this before. They tabled a massive bid. They sent in a £120 million bid, to which Newcastle said, go blank yourself, fill in the blank. And I'm not surprised. Newcastle have said, sure, 150 million, bid that, he's yours. Liverpool have come in 30 million under asking price. It's one of those where we see it all the time in January, where a club will look like they're pretending to make a bid by bidding well under the asking price. Arsenal did it last year with Ollie Watkins. Aston Villa said 60 million, we bid 40 million. You know what you're going to get when you do that. And Newcastle, to their credit, are not saying we won't continue to negotiate with you. Although Isak is trying to force this move, they're saying 150 or nothing. And Liverpool have said, we're not paying that, we're walking away. Now, this is going to go one of two ways, maybe three ways. Way one, Liverpool really do walk away. Isak stops forcing this move. He comes back. He has 25 goals for Newcastle this year. And next year, he leaves, putting every club in the conversation for where Isak could go next summer. Option two, Liverpool play the long game here. Isak refuses to train, refuses to go to Newcastle, refuses to do anything, and the window starts to dwindle down. And Liverpool launch they maybe get to 130, 135. Newcastle take the money and go buy another striker. The issue with that, number two, is that leaves Newcastle next to no time. Newcastle have said already, if they don't have a replacement lined up, they're not selling even for any price. I think at 150, they'll feel like any replacement's reasonable. They can get whoever they want, whether that be Sesko. There's not a ton of other options, but Ollie Watkins would be a good fit for Newcastle if they were able to get him away from Aston Villa. That's potentially possible as well. The third option is Isak really does force this move, and you see Barcelona, who would have to sell Lewandowski, Araujo, and probably one other person to be able to fund the move, or Arsenal decide they're going to break all of their transfer rules and go out and bid the money that it's needed. Now, for Arsenal, I think that's nearly impossible. That would mean Trossard, Martinelli. It would leave us down an attacker, basically. It'd be like, we're going to go all out with Isak, and if he gets hurt, we're not going to have enough attackers, but we're going all out, which I'm not against. I don't think it's likely. I think what is the most likely is option one. They go back to Isak playing at Newcastle. He has a great year. And next year, when everybody knows on the first day of the transfer window that Isak is leaving, there's a real bidding war. Newcastle can get what they want. The player gets what he wants, and it works out for everybody. But very interesting thing to keep mind of here in the next couple of weeks as we see this back and forth with Liverpool. And if I'm Liverpool, as great as Isak is, and I think I would never say it's not a good signing, but if you have 120 million, they need a defensive midfielder. They need at least one center back, maybe two. They're leaving themselves very exposed. So it's an interesting way to go about this transfer window. They might spend 300 plus million on only attackers when they already had the best attack in the league last year. I've seen a lot of talk about Bukayo Saka and his performance yesterday, and just his performance in general in the first two matches here, two of the first three matches. This is a player who has played 5,000 minutes a year, who is coming back from hamstring injury, who had surgery and, played towards the end of last year, but was clearly not 100%. I'm not worried about him. I'm more worried about the way that the team's playing than Bukayo Saka. Yes, he didn't have his best match against Tottenham. He was trying not to get himself hurt in what was a North London derby in preseason, which I think should never happen again. That was well too physical for a preseason match. He's got a nice, easy tune-up at the Emirates next couple of matches where he should be able to get back into his best form, and I just don't worry about him. He's such an inevitable player and someone who impacts the game no matter what he's doing, whether he's scoring, assisting, just being a part of build-up, just being a great ball retention. Bukayo Saka is an all-actions player. If he's not scoring, he's not adding to the match. If anything, I think some of his best matches have come without him adding goal contributions. So, no. There is no concern over Bukayo Saka's form at this very moment, and I think with what we're trying to set up here, bringing in Eze is going to bring in a lot more dynamism to the left-hand side, which will allow Saka to not have to work as hard and also allow him to drift more centrally. I've been watching a lot of highlights from the 23-24 and 22-23 seasons. Saka was so good at getting into the right half space and kind of having these rotations, and I think bringing in an Eze is not only going to allow Eze to kind of get into the right wing area and drift into the half spaces, or Martinelli to kind of rotate, but allow the whole front three to be a little bit more fluid, because you'll almost have three players behind Gyökeres who are all very fluid players. I think what worked so well with Gabriel Jesus was he was such a fluid attacker, right? he'd pop out to the left wing. Saka would come center forward. Martinelli would go right wing. Like, they kept rotating, but our biggest issue was then we didn't have player up in front in the box. Now with Gyökeres and the idea that we're going to go to this double pivot of Rice and Zubimendi to control matches, it allows us to have 3 attackers rotating and a striker in the box, which I think will completely change the way that we attack, and we'll have far less issues kind of breaking down these mid blocks. We're just not up and running yet. It's preseason. Gyökeres got 8 minutes. Like, let's give us a second here. Left back's a big concern, though, for me, because Calafiori always injured, although Arteta did say Calafiori and Gabriel will be ready for the start of the year. But if Calafiori can't stay healthy, then Miles Lewis-Skelly is forced to play left back. And if we're switching to this double pivot, Miles Lewis-Skelly doesn't want to stay wide. He can, but he doesn't want to, and that really limits him. Calafiori is much better out there playing out wide. He can overlap, good cross, good, he can crash the box from out there as well. I'd really like to have a left back who's a little bit wider, because then you have the double pivot. You have kind of Eze or Odegaard, whoever it might be in that number 10 position, who can get into the left half spaces, or he can get into the right half spaces, and the left winger can kind of pop in. You can see Eze out as the winger, and he's popping into the left half spaces with Ethan or Odegaard in the right half spaces with Calafiori overlapping. So there's a lot more options when we get into this double pivot and we bring in an Eze, which brings us to, I keep mentioning Eze, and that's because Arsenal are actually readying the first official bid for Eze that they've actually sent. They've had the discussions. They have contract agreement ready to go with Eze, but they haven't actually launched a bid to Crystal Palace. The fact that they're launching a real bid, to me, means they're not waiting to sell. They're going to go get Eze. Eze is going to play a role in midfield this year, and they want him. They want this deal no matter what. Now, I do think you will still see a sale out on that left side, or two, between Nelson, Martinelli, and Trossard. One of those 3 players, if not 2 of them, will definitely go, but they're not waiting on that. Arsenal are attacking this window in a completely different way, and I expect Eze to get in before the season starts, because Crystal Palace are also going to want to get a replacement in before the season starts. So, big weekend upcoming. When we get back on Monday, we may have a massive update on Eze. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you stay in touch with how Eze works, how we're getting it done, and what the team will look like when this window is over. This is Arsenal Report every day. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll talk to you on Monday.